Good morning, my YouTube friends. What you're looking at is a Mazer's Super Jolly commercial espresso grinder filled with about 1 kilo of freshly roasted beans. That is, they were roasted on Thursday. Today is Monday, the 7th of October. And these beans are now ready for use. On the left side, you see a Francesconi commercial espresso machine. And my aim today is to introduce you a little more to the details of making good espresso coffee. My aim is not to proselytize. I don't want anyone to think they have to run out and buy an espresso machine. I'm sure most people wouldn't in any case. If you like your Hills Brothers out of a percolator, or your Folgers out of a drip coffee maker, you wake up in the morning and you smell the coffee and you think, oh, how wonderful, go for it, it's great. There are other ways to make coffee that, in my opinion, are better than those ways, and they don't involve expensive or a big lot of machinery like this. One of the ways that is very popular is called a French press, like this, quite inexpensive and fully capable of making excellent coffee. Probably the best way to make a single cup of really excellent coffee is this little gadget here called an AeroPress. It's just a little plastic plunger in a cylinder with a filter. You can use a paper filter or use a gold metal filter, as I do here. It makes an absolutely excellent cup of coffee, just as does the French press, if you follow a couple of simple rules. Number one, you use fresh coffee. I'm afraid you can't use pre-ground coffee because it will never be fresh. If you buy pre-ground coffee in a can, then you just settle for what you've got. And like I say, if you enjoy it, that's fine. But it isn't what you could have. If you have a roaster nearby, or you know somewhere where you can buy freshly roasted coffee and a small grinder, it doesn't matter for that kind of thing, whether it's a blade grinder or a simple little burr grinder. In this particular case, if you're going to use the French press, a blade grinder is fine, an inexpensive machine that doesn't even cost, well, you can get one on eBay probably for $10. You can buy a new one for about $20. These ways of making coffee depend on one other factor. If you're going to get really good coffee, the water has to be the right temperature. It has to be between 92 and 94 degrees Celsius in my experience. Any hotter than 96 degrees and it extracts too much of the bitter components of coffee that most people don't really enjoy. And if it's too cool, you get an under-extracted brew, which really is not the coffee you could have. So you need a kettle with and a heat source. You can bring it to a boil and just let it sit for a couple of minutes to cool down to 94 degrees, or if you want to go to that extent, you can measure the temperature with a thermometer. You could do it once and find out how long it takes at a certain room temperature at least to cool down to 94 degrees, and then pour it over the coffee, or in the case of the little AeroPress here, just pour it in. That's all an introduction. That is the first disclaimer that I'm going to make. I'm not telling you have to drink espresso or that anyone should drink espresso. The other disclaimer is I am not the expert on espresso. There are many people who know much more than I do about making excellent espresso. There are people who have worked in London in some of the great bars that probably produce the best coffee in the world, aside from Sydney and other places in Australia and New Zealand. And of course on the west coast of the United States in Seattle and in Portland, where the coffee gods have visited, and there are young men like my own grandson who probably know a great deal more about making espresso than I do. I was, however, surprised to receive a phone call last night from a fellow coffee enthusiast like myself who said, I saw you making YouTube videos and I saw you make a video about your morning coffee. Why don't you make a video or a few videos about how to make good espresso? So I will. Believe me, you can find thousands of these on YouTube. You don't need another one really. But since most of you who are watching this, who know me now for other reasons on YouTube, you probably won't watch those other videos, and you might watch mine. And in case you're interested in how good espresso is made, I'll give you some tips. I'll tell you the parameters you need to follow, and we'll make a couple of cups together and we'll see how they taste. And let's just begin right now.